welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige. Today I want to tell you the books that I read in October. This is my very late October wrap up. So I kind of took a break from booktube in the later part of 2021. I just wasn't in the mental state just to do it. I kind of struggled during the later part of 2021, so I just took a break. But I have been trying to decide whether I should post my wrap-ups that I missed posting then, which was October, November, and December. And I put up a poll on Instagram. I asked the question whether you guys want to see my wrap-ups or not, and more said yes than no. So I'm really sorry for the ones who said no. I don't want to see these videos. You can just skip and wait for another video you want to see. But anyway, I was like, well, these are books that I read and I have loved a lot of these, so I kind of just still want to talk about them. So this is a super late wrap up video that I hope you don't mind, but here it is. So in October of 2021, I read 33 books, and I had 12 5-star reads, 16 4-star reads, 5 3-star reads, and 1 DNF. So the book that I DNF'd was Like Father, Like Son by Leigh Lennon. I don't hardly even remember what this book is about. Oh, yes, I do, because I had read sometime in 2021 a book where she is with both the father and the son, and I really wanted another one like that. Well, this one, she's married to her husband dies, and then at the funeral, his father is helping her out, and this will be their romance. But I didn't even get that far because it was already, this is really a heavy time of grief for her, because she lost the love of her life. She was very happily married to her husband, and things just start moving too quickly, and I was like, this is so not believable. This is not what I want. So I DNF'd it. So the first book I read in October is Sidetracked by S.T. Appy. This is the second book in the Mindfuck series. I'd read the first one in September, and I had to immediately keep reading the series because they are just so addicting. They're really short books, so they're really easy, to read back to back to back, and I binged the whole series because each book kind of leaves off on a cliffhanger, so you're dying to pick up the next book. So this is about a girl who she and her brother were so horribly wrong. There's a lot of trigger warnings in this series, and then she trains and teams up with her best friend to take revenge and take out these horrible people that did them so horribly wrong in the past. And so she kind of becomes a serial killer, but then she starts dating this guy who is an FBI profiler, and he is actually working on the case that the serial killer case that is her, but he doesn't know it. And so it is so intriguing. It's so intriguing, and I had to read it. I binged it. I loved it. I read Sidetracked, which I rated 5 stars. Scarlet Angel was 5 stars. All the Lies, 5 stars. And Paint It All Red, 5 stars. Such an intriguing series that I absolutely adored. After I finished that series, I picked up Ravensong by TJ Klune. I had read the first book in that series, which is the Green Creek series, I think that's what it's called, in the previous October of 2020, and I really wanted to read paranormal romances in October, so I picked up the next book in that series, and then I binged that series. Ravensong, I listened to most of these on audio. Oh my goodness, the audiobooks for these are simply amazing. They all made me cry. They're to me, they're highly emotional. They just really bring out the vulnerable side of these characters, and you just really connect with them. And throughout this series, they're fighting for the bad guys, essentially. There's people that have turned against them, and so they're fighting for their lives, fighting for their home. And the first one it's Wolfsong, but I read that in 2020. So I read Ravensong, which is the like witch for their family. Every wolf shifter pack has like a witch who works with the family, and this is, I can't remember his name, but he is the witch for their pack, and he has been in love with one of the wolf shifters in the family. It's actually the uncle to the main characters in the first book, but they had a disagreement because they were forced to leave their home, and the wolf shifter left, you know, with his family and left the witch behind. And I'm calling them like that because I don't remember names. So so there is a lot of hate from the witch towards the wolf shifter, because, you know, he feels like he totally abandoned him and didn't choose him. And so now they're much older and a lot of time has passed, and this is their romance. They do find their romance, but it is pretty slow burn. It's not heavy on the romance, but it's, of course, focuses on this entire family and like their fight of survival, and it's just so amazing. This series is so good. Then I picked up Lovesong, which is like a little novella between the main books. Oh, this one made me just, I cried the entire time reading this because it's pretty short, and this is basically coming from like the mother talking about each of her children. You know, she's the mother of this wolf shifter family, and she has lost, I don't want to give away any spoilers, so there was a great tragedy in the first book in Wolfsong, and she is just still dealing with that, and also, you know, just going through so much grief, and you can just feel her pain, and this one was so emotional, but so good. Rated that one 5 stars. And then I picked up Heartsong, which centers around one of her sons, which is the brother to Joe from the first book. He actually finds his mate for he's another wolf shifter that has come to kind of like stay with their family for a while, and they really didn't trust him at first, but then you know, he just like is integrated into their family, and you know, they're mates. Then he gets kidnapped and they like alter his mind, and so I wish I remembered names. The wolf shifter from Joe's family is trying to find him, and when they find him, he's trying to, you know, tell him like he doesn't even remember, and this is like the love of his life, and you know, he's trying to bring him back, and it's so heartbreaking because, you know, this is your mate, and your mate doesn't even know who you are, or like, you know, he thinks that you're the bad guys because they just like completely altered his mind. And it's, I don't know if I'm explaining this where you can understand. It was kind of confusing, but it was so good. Of course, rated that one 5 stars. And then I picked up Brothersong, which is, this is the brother to Joe and the brother in Heartsong, but this is his story. So this kind of feral wolf keeps following him around. He cannot change, and he doesn't realize that, you know, they've kind of like, it's kind of like a fated mate situation, until the feral wolf kind of sacrifices himself to save the family. And so the brother leaves out to go find him, because he kind of realizes then like, oh, this is, you know, my mate. He is gone, traveling, you know, trying to find him and bring him back, and these two brothers are really close to each other, and it's just tearing up the family, and of course the other brother that he has left, and so they all kind of like, you know, step in to help. And rated that one 5 stars. And then I finished out that series with Feralsong, which is a novella. I don't really recall this one. I see that I rated it 4 stars, so I'm assuming it didn't quite touch me as much as the other ones did, but of course this is such a wonderful series. I recommend it so much. It is so good. I love this paranormal romance series. The next one I picked up is Blood and Wine by Margot Scott. This was pretty interesting. This was about a girl who her mother can kind of like talk to ghosts, and then her mother dies and she has to move in with her bio dad and his family. So her bio dad owns this grand estate. I think if I remember correctly, they grow grapes and make wine there. So it's kind of like a vineyard. And her mother comes to, you know, stay at this vineyard as a ghost, and so she can see her mother. She has the same ability as her mother did. But she also sees this vampire, this man in her dream, which turns out to be a vampire that her dad has captured on the vineyard property. And so she has to try to rescue him. And it was such an intriguing book. I rated it 4 stars. The next one I read is I Was Born Ruined by C.M. Stunich. I had picked this up again because C.M. Stunich was writing the rest of the books for this series. This book has been out quite a while, and I had actually DNF'd it once before because this is a girl who is raised by this man who is a president of a motorcycle club. And she kind of had a crush on some of his, you know, men that, you know, these 4 men who were in the motorcycle club. And she, after this terrible tragedy happens, I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, so I'm not going to say much more than that, but after this terrible tragedy happens, she kind of really rebels against her family, and she kind of hates them for what happened, and she hates who she is and what she, you know, that she's a part of this motorcycle club. And so her only goal is to get away and, you know, never look back. But she does give herself over to the 4 men in the motorcycle club, like his officers. But the really drawback to this book is that she is under 18 when this happens, and so that was just such a huge turn off to me. I really like this series other than that, but when the first stuff happens is when she's 16, and I mean, I know that's legal in some areas, but I don't know. It's just really hard for me to imagine a 16-year-old with, you know, such a huge age gap. So, but I did rate it 4 stars because the rest of the book is very interesting. She is very bratty though, in the first book, which is kind of a turn off. Really, if I was to go back, I'd probably rate the first one 3.5 stars. But the books do get better because as you will see, I do read the new ones later on in the month. And then I picked up Psycho by Onley James. So Psycho is the second book in the Necessary Evil series, and this follows the brother August. He is like just a genius. He has that type of like photographic memory where he remembers everything. He is a professor, and he meets Lucas, who used to be like an FBI agent. But he was, I think he was like fired because he kind of has psychic abilities, and he kind of used that in a case against his coworker, and they just thought he was crazy. And so he meets Lucas, and this is their romance. Of course, they're trying to solve the case because Lucas's former partner, you know, when he worked as an FBI agent, is up to no good, and they are trying to get down to the bottom of this. Of course, August is one of the, you know, boys raised by this doctor who are serial killers, and they kill people. They're like vigilantes, modern vigilantes that, you know, trying to rid the world of these really bad people. And so this was their romance, and it was amazing. I love this series so much, and I love every book in the series. The next one I read is Frenzy by Grace McGinty. This is the second book in that series. I don't remember what the series is called, but this takes place like in the Omegaverse world, and this follows the in the first book, the heroine, this is her brother. He rescued a bunch of people in the first book, and now this is his story, and he and his lover slash partner are kind of like looking to settle down, and they come back to this territory where his sister is, and they meet like the nurse of the area. Her name is Bonnie, and Bonnie already has a partner, and so they all, you know, this is kind of like a reverse harem situation where it's her with all of them, and they are also, you know, fighting. There's kind of like evil lurking in the background, because since he had rescued his sister and a lot of other ones in the first book, they kind of come back into play in this one, and so they are fighting to survive. And Bonnie also is the like she runs like this orphanage for kids, and so they have all these children to protect as well. It was a really great book in that series, and I rated it 5 stars. Then I read the second book in the Death by Daybreak MC series by C.M. Stunich. This continues on with the heroine from the first book. She grows as a character through the books, which makes her character a little bit more likable, but she is kind of realizing what she wants, and so she's trying to escape from her family and leave the MC world, and she leaves and she is immediately kidnapped by the mafia, and that's like who's at war with her dad's MC club, and she has to survive in the mafia with the like mafia boss's son. She's being held with him because of they aren't totally trusting in their son. And so she kind of forms a friendship with him, and until she's rescued by the guys in her dad's motorcycle club, and she has to kind of like lie and say that, you know, she was kidnapped and she didn't try to run. And so then the series left off after that, and while I was waiting for the third book to be released, then I read Dark Dragon's Mate by Anastasia Wilde. This was one of my free Amazon downloads at some point, and I actually liked it pretty well. I rated it 4 stars. It's about a girl who comes to this like castle because she has a problem. She is a wolf shifter, but she is going feral, and she comes to this castle because she heard that this dragon who lives at the castle, he's the dragon shifter, that he can help her, and this is their romance, and it was pretty unique and interesting. Then I picked up Ryan by Jessica Gadziala. This is a book in a series that follows these brothers. But so the hero of this story meets the heroine like accidentally. He comes to this apartment for some reason, I don't remember why, but she sees him and they kind of accidentally meet. And she lives with debilitating anxiety. She just cannot leave her apartment. She suffers from terrible anxiety, and she works from home. She does everything from home, never leaves, and then he kind of has to rescue her at some point because the building has the fire alarm where everybody's supposed to exit, and he kind of like grabs her and goes. And so this is their romance, and it was super sweet. I really liked it, and I rated this one 4 stars as well. And then I read Coven by Rebecca Main, and this was also another Amazon download, but I did not like this one as well. I rated it 3 stars. This is about a girl who finds out that she belongs to a family of witches. Her grandmother is a witch and her aunts, and she is learning, you know, how like her specialty is brewing. She loves to cook, and so like she they're teaching her how to do this, and so she runs into a wolf shifter. Wolf shifters come to town, and which the witches and wolf shifters have always been at war with each other. I think this is a fated mate situation because I think he like imprints on her or something to that effect. And so their families are both very, you know, angry that this happened. She tries to resist, you know, because her grandmother hates them so much and whatnot. But this is their romance, and it was just okay. And then I read Under Fire by Cara Bristol. This is the first book in the Alien Dragon Shifter series. So the dragon shifters have lived on their, you know, home planet, but their home planet is cooling, so they cannot stay there anymore, and so they find this new planet that they claimed first until the humans realize that, you know, this planet has some type of like metal that they want, and so the humans are like trying to take it from the dragons, and so there's kind of like a disagreement and hatred between the dragons and the humans, and so the humans are sending this girl, which she does not know she's being sent she's being sent as kind of like a goodwill token to appease the dragons, because she's being sent to be a concubine for the like dragons, the king dragon, his son, so like the prince. And because she's actually thinks that she's just accompanying her friend, but they trick her in sending her to be where the dragons are. And the dragons hate the humans, and but when she arrives, he immediately knows that she is his mate, and so this is their romance. And then I read the next one, which is Line of Fire, and the girl, this is the president's daughter. She was supposed to accompany her friend in the first book, but her father was kind of like in control of that situation, even though she didn't agree with it. But she kind of escapes her father and his people to go to this planet with the dragons. But then, you know, when she arrives, she meets a dragon there, and he considers her his mate. And I rated both of these 4 stars. The next one I read is Fighting Instincts by Lana Kole. This is one of the books in the Sweet Omegaverse series. This one I only rated 3 stars. It was just okay. So the guy in this story is a fighter, and he, I think, is an Omega, and he enjoys to fight. He fights for money, and he and his best friend, they're both Omegas, and they were together for a long time until she finds her pack, and he loses her, and it just is, you know, devastating to him. And it's pretty unheard of for 2 Omegas to be together, until he ends up being in a kind of a bad situation, and her pack kind of steps in to help. And so he's brought into their household and lives with them, and eventually this is their romance all together. It's the 2 Omegas with like the alphas, and it was just okay. And then I read Not My Type by Evie Mitchell. I rated this 4 stars, but I think I want to change my rating to 5 stars, because the only reason I rated it 4 stars was because the book is kind of shorter, but I think that's kind of her style of writing, and I just wanted there to be more. I felt like that's essentially what it is. I just wanted more of the story. I wanted more between the, you know, the hero and heroine. I just wanted there to be more because I loved it so much. So that's why I'm thinking of just changing it to 5 stars, because there was nothing really that I disliked about this book. I just wanted more of it. So the heroine of this story is in a wheelchair. She has a disability. She has this podcast where she talks about sexual things for people who like call in and have questions, and she's like a educator in that department. And somebody is asking about Shibari, and she really doesn't know much about it, so she asked the help of a local instructor of Shibari for help. And she kind of takes like he has classes you can take, and she takes one of his classes, and he teaches her, you know, Shibari, and they get to know each other and start a relationship, and I loved their relationship. And one of my favorite parts in this book is when she is over at his house. I don't know if it's the first time or like one of the first times, but his family comes over to meet her, and she leaves. She starts to leave because she needs to go to the restroom, and her wheelchair cannot fit into his restroom. And so she knows that the gym she goes to is just like right down the street. So she's like, I'll be back. And he kind of chases after him like, where are you going? And she tells him that, you know, she needs to use the restroom. She ends up, I think, going to the gym, and when she gets back, he's tearing out the wall in his room so that, you know, he can build a more accessible bathroom for her, because that's what she needs. And he is just so ready to like build his life around her and accommodate her to what she needs. And I thought that that was so swoony. That is just such an amazing thing for him to do for her, because, you know, this is how she lives her life and this is what she needs. And so he's just automatically going to, you know, do whatever he can for her. And I just think that was so sweet. It's just such an amazing book. I loved it so much. This is the first book in the All Access series, and I'm reading them as soon as they're being released. The next one is Rescuing Harley by Susan Stoker. I rated this one 4 stars. It's about a girl who is like a video game creator. She codes and creates video games, and she is creating this basically like a Call of Duty type of game, a shooter game, and she is trying to make it very realistic and better than the ones she's made previously, and she wants to take like this skydiving class where she jumps out of a plane like with you know, an instructor. And so she goes to do this even though her brother and sister beg her not to. They're just super worried for her jumping out of an airplane, and she goes to take this class, and one of the guys that jumps with her, he actually does not teach this class. He's just kind of like a stand-in for the day because he's actually in the military, and so he does this, you know, as his normal job, but someone was like out sick or something, and so he fills in for that day, and so he jumps with her. And then this bizarre thing happens one day after they jump. This bird, this huge bird, kind of like knocks, runs into him through the air and knocks him out, and so then it's like she's on her own and she has to take them down and back to the ground. And so he feels really bad about this later, and he comes, you know, he's in touch with her later on, and of course, you know, they're very much attracted to each other and intrigued with each other, and they begin to date. And so it was cute. It was a cute romance, and I rated it 4 stars. And then finally, the third book in the Death by Daybreak Motorcycle Club series, she finished writing it and released. So I read that one and I rated it 5 stars. So this kind of concludes that whole story of her. She was rescued from the mafia and they take her back, and then she just kind of so that begins like it's a huge war against the mafia in this motorcycle club, and they are trying to survive this. And she has just really grown as a character from the first book, and realizes like what she wants out of life, what she needs to do, and of course along the way this is her romance with 4 of the officers from the motorcycle club. The next one I read is Pestilence by Thalassa. This is like an apocalyptic time where the 4 horsemen have come to Earth and then they left, and then the first one came back, and he is Pestilence, where he brings like the plague, and it's just going around the world killing all these people. And this girl kind of sacrifices herself and it's like, you know, I'm going to kill him. So she tries to kill him, which really she's not a killer. She's actually a firefighter, and her, you know, she's always trying to save people, and so killing him, even though it's for the greater good, kind of like tears her apart inside. And then it fails because he's like indestructible and he cannot be killed. And so after like he heals, he takes her as his prisoner as he goes around the world spreading the plague, and this is their romance. And I rated it 4 stars. The next one I read is Bad Alpha by Kathryn Moon. This is another one in the Sweet Omegaverse series. So the main, you know, character in this book, it's a heroine. She kind of is like an assassin type of character, and she's really a badass type of heroine, and she takes care of herself, but she is drawn into this pack. They want to help protect her, even though, you know, she can take care of her own self, but she kind of runs into this extra trouble. And so they're like all trying to, you know, help each other out and solve this mystery that's going on behind the scenes. And this is her romance with them, even though she's very reluctant, because she's kind of always been like a loner type of character, but she eventually finds, you know, love with these other heroes. And I rated this one 4 stars. Then I read Vibe by Liza James and absolutely loved it. I rated this one 4 stars. This is a sapphic romance. The first heroine has a very tragic background. She's kind of raised in this cult, and they do horrible they abused her pretty horribly, and she eventually escaped that, and she builds her life, you know, and she thinks it's pretty good. And her boyfriend and her best friend take her out one night for, I think it was her birthday, and they take her to this club, and she sees this dancer at the club, and they automatically have like this connection just by looking at each other. Long story short, she and the dancer get to know each other, and the dancer kind of knows that there's more going on in the background that the other girl doesn't know about, and so she's trying to like save her from people who are trying to creep back up from her past to, you know, kind of like draw her back in and rescue her from those people. And this is their romance, and it was so good. And then I read Trick and Treat by Shay Sanders. These are just short like Halloween novellas. This is books that I read in my 24-hour Halloween reading vlog. I'm not going to go into depth into these. I'll just have the link to that video in the description box below. I rated Trick and Treat both 4 stars, and then I read The Pumpkin King by Cara. I rated that one 3 stars. I read Smashing the Pumpkin King by Holly Ween. Rated that one 3 stars. I read Halloween Treats by Alexa Riley. Rated that one 3 stars. And I read Booed Up by Danielle Allen. Rated that one 4 stars. And I read Witching Moon by Poppy Woods, and I rated that one 4 stars. So take a look at that video if you want more info on, you know, what I thought of those books, because this video is already quite lengthy. So anyway, these are the books that I read for October. I'm really sorry that this is such a late wrap up, but I just really wanted to let you guys know what I have read. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.